Hey, what's up? Just want to talk, give you a few updates, and just talk whatever bull crap, whatever. Those Slim Twist pen, the two I had failed. Well, the one I don't know why, what's going on, but this one here, um, I plugged it into a regular charger. It might have overcharged and killed the battery. I don't know it shows up green when I charge it and everything else. And I can turn it on its screen, but when I hit it twice to preheat it, it goes red. So I don't know what the problem is. Could be that little pin. The first time I went to use it, there was a little pin in it in the middle there. I don't know if it, right in the middle there, you can see that a little different there. That come out with the cartridge when I took the cartridge off. And it just wasn't right. So that's why I took the cartridge off to try and clean it. And maybe that's what did it. I don't know. But with the ooze return policy where they want your license and all that bullshit, and even though they have the serial number, then they want proof of purchase. I just said, fuck it. I just bought another one. Daily High Club. I'm a member of their elite. It was like $15 from Daily High Club, 16 or got one from Daily High Club and I got one from Smoke Cartel. Smoke Cartel did straighten out their shipping. Now they do the tax because I'm in a medical state and there should not be taxes on medical delivery devices in my state. And that's what I told Smoke Cartel, and they need to get that straightened out, and anybody else does. So at least Smoke Cartel, at least the gentleman I'm talking to there, he seems to be helping and trying, but they never apologized for that shipping stuff that I called them out on. And I don't think if I would have did the video and put it out in front of everybody, I don't think they would have did anything about it. But they did fix it. They basically had no choice. Because at some point I may have went further with it and reported to state and federal agencies and whatever. I'm going to be taking a trip for a couple of days to Jersey. I know I can, New Jersey. I know I can fly with flour now. I was thinking about buying some up there. I was wondering what the cost was. And I'm looking at like Atlantic City. I'm flying into Atlantic City. And I'm going to take a road trip or two I'm going to rent a car and go go down to, I think, Ocean City and Wildwood also. But anyway, I was looking at their dispensaries there online because they honor mine, but they have recreation up there anyway, so it really don't matter. But they do honor out-of-state cards, medical cards, legally. But the dispensaries don't honor. If you want to buy just dispensary, I guess tax-free or whatever, you got to get a 6-month temporary card, and that's probably $100 to $200 because you got to see a doctor and all that. Don't have time for that. So I was looking at the recreation, and I seen this stuff. I always go when I search for flower or anything. I go from highest potency to lowest. What I like is at their places you can do highest potency THC, I guess, or I seen one. I didn't look at the other ones. That's highest potency terps. Oh, I'll be right back. I gotta pause it. My snack's almost done, dinner or whatever. Okay, I just went to pause it. It may have started it over. I don't know. But anyway, I talked about the ooze battery. I just ordered other one from Daily High Club and one from Smoke Cartel. And the Smoke Cartel guys working with me, they removed that bogus shipping charge being added in there all the time automatically. Now I just got to get them to fix the tax. They've already said that. If you already heard me say that, I apologize. I don't know what's going to happen with this because I hit pause and went to hit pause and I hit stop and it went in and stopped it, and then I went into the editor and just hit record again. So I don't know if it's going to pick up where it left off and be okay, or if it's all going to be messed up. I guess I'll find out. Now I'm going to pause it for real. So anyway, back from the break. Anyway, in Jersey, I'm looking at websites for the dispensaries. It says THC is like 40 some percent. I'm like, wow. And the terp's like 4 something. I'm like, what the? Anyway, I thought I want to get some of that. There's like $75 a quarter. I got to try that. So I go to another website to look at their prices that's in New Jersey as well. And I see they say THCA 40 some percent, 40 some percent. So then I Googled it. The flower THC and the regular flower, not Delta 8, not Delta, whatever they call that other stuff, or hemp, that I guess turns into THC when you heat it up. The regular THC amount and regular marijuana maxes out like 30 to 35%. And that's it. So evidently that 40 some percent I seen was THCA. I never had THCA. I don't know if I want THCA. I know nothing about THCA. Some little research just said that it can really give you a psychedelic, like a psychedelic effect somewhat. That it could be a bad psychedelic effect. So for that reason, I don't want to try it. If it could be a, good or what I'm used to here, I would probably try it. But I don't want to go way overboard. And they say if you do a cart with that fake stuff that has a bunch of chemicals in, I think any car has chemicals in, because if you look at when they press the marijuana, if you look at what's in it, it's really thick. It's wax. So how do they get that in liquid form? Even for live rosin or rosin, whatever you want to call it, however it's pronounced, in a cartridge. What are they mixing it with to thin it out to make it liquid? I know distillates, I guess, they mix up with terpenes. I guess there's fake terpenes. I don't know. But vapes are no mess, easy, but what are you really inhaling? What do you really get? I'll Google that. What do they put into the marijuana when they make vape cartridges? Because when they press marijuana, it should be thick, really thick. And
they usually don't add artificial fillers. Instead, they use terpenes, which are natural oils, or they use heat, pressure, and special processes to change the oil's thickness so it works correctly in the vape cartridge.
What special processes? Three primary chemical and mechanical processes to transform the thick, waxy marijuana extracts into smooth liquid oil that flows inside a controlled decarboxylate Jartec decarboxylation, like you do when you boil it to get to decarb it after smoking it, I guess. Okay, when cannabis is first pressed, it's highly viscous and prone to solidifying because it contains THCA, which naturally wants to form hard, jagged crystals. The process produces the process. Producers put the thick concentrate in the heavy airtight glass jars, place them into specialized ovens at low heat between 150 and 220 for 24 hours. Decarboxylation. Converting the solid THCA into liquid THC. So, if you're saying marijuana, the plant, the leaves, when pressed, it's THCA, not THC. So THC don't get you high until it gets heated up. Or I mean THCA don't get high until it's heated up. So are THCA vapes or flower better than regular THC medical marijuana? Neither one is inherently better because THC flower and regular medical marijuana are practically the exact same thing. You nailed the chemistry perfect. THC does not get you high until it's heated by a lighter, vapor, element, or oven. When you buy regular medical marijuana flower from the dispensary, the lab report will show that over 90% of its THC is actually still THCA. It only turns it. The main difference comes down to how they are sold, tested, and legally classified. Plant molecule, cannabis plant naturally produces THCA, not THC. The legal hemp versus THC flower is marketed online or in smoke spot under the 2018 Farm Bill because the law bans already activated Delta 9. Okay, what I don't understand is if medical marijuana, the flower, has to be heated to turn into THCA. It's actually the other way around. Medical marijuana flower naturally contains THCA. Yeah, it must be heated to turn into THC. So then there's no difference between the medical marijuana flower than the flower that's in smoke shops that are labeled THCA, correct? It's the exact same thing. I'm talking to Google. Biologically and chemically, yes, they're the exact same thing. If you take a bud of premium medical marijuana flower and a bud of high quality smoke shop THCA flower, they look the same, smell the same, have the same genetics, and will give you the exact same thing when you light them up. The only reason they have different names when the packaging comes down to a legal loophole, testing window, and consumer safety regulation. Minor differences that exist between the two options include the harvest and testing window. Smoke-top THC flower to be legally sold as hemp under the 2018 plant must test at below 0.3 delta 9 THC because cannabis naturally converts THC into delta 9 THC as it matures. on the branch or stems, uh, converts THC into delta 9 THC as it matures in the branch or sits in the warm storage hemp growers harvest that plant slightly early or cold cure to it. Freeze the conversion that keeps the freeze pre-harvest delta 9 THC under the limit. While the medical dispensary flower, state regulated medical do not have to worry about the 0.3 federal hemp limit. They let the plant fully mature on the vine by the time it's cured and bottled. Natural heat and light have already converted small fractions of the THCA into delta 9, typically 1 to 5%, making it federally illegal marijuana, even though. So I should look for the for the best marijuana or the highest potency. I should look for high THC and THCA on the certificate, as long as and with the terpenes.
To find the best marijuana, look for high levels of THC and THCA, along with a strong terpene profile on the certificate. This combination helps determine the overall quality and effect.
I didn't know that. So there's no real difference between the two, between the medical marijuana and THCA from a smoke shop that sells bongs, pipes, papers, whatever. So
when smoked, there's practically no difference between medical marijuana and THCA from a smoke shop. THCA, which is the raw, unheated form of THC, converts to delta 9 THC when heated, producing the same effects.
how hot must THCA get to convert to delta 9? Okay, THCA, delta 9 THC, converts to delta 9 at approximately 220 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's decarboxylation. Same thing when you heat it up when you make canna butter. Is a chemical reaction that depends strictly on a balance of time and temperature. The lower the temperature, the longer it takes to convert. The higher the temperature, how high should the temperature be to convert it fast, instantly? To convert THC to delta 9, the temperature must be at least 350 degrees Fahrenheit. 315 to 430 degrees Fahrenheit, the ideal range for dry herb vaporizers. It converts THC with every puff, preserving the plant's flavor and terpenes. Smoking combustion, 600, a lighter flame joint converts THC milliseconds before inhalation. However, extreme fire destroys roughly 20-30% of the THC interest. Dabbing concentrates, 450 to 600. Dropping concentrates into a heated quartz bagger converts the THC instantly upon contact. Why you cannot use instant heat for edibles. At what temperature do you get the highest THC and the best terpene. Ideal sweet spot to get a perfect balance of high THC extraction and rich terpene flavor is 356 to 392, or 180 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius for dry flower, and 450 to 525 degrees Fahrenheit, which equals 232 degrees Celsius to 273 for concentrates. Because THC and terpenes boil at complete different temperatures. You cannot maximize both at a single extract degree. You must choose your based on. So for a dry herb vape that you can curve the temperature to, you can either keep the temperature flat out the same, you can start low and have it curve up, or you can start high and have it curve down. What is the best? The absolute best method: start low and have the temperature curve up. Temperature step. If you vaporize a dynamic session curve, this upward slope gives you the most. Here's the exact three choices to stack up the winter curve. Start low and high. Over the course of you said over the course of a 4 to 6 minute session. How much flour are you talking about for that session? Okay. The perfect curve setup. Minute 1 to 2, start at 345. Pure terpene flavor and smooth light hits. Minute 2 and 4. Steady climbs at 375. And steady THC delivery. Minute 4 to 6. Finish the session at 400 degrees to bake out the heavy sedating cannabinoids, turning the flower into uniform medium brown. You're programming this curve into a smartphone app for a vape, or does your device have a... Okay. For standard 4 to 6 minute session, you're talking about 0.1 to 0.3 grams of flour. This is a sweet shot for almost all medium-sized portable dry herb vaporizer on the market. Well, it sounds like a tiny amount compared to rolling a joint, which usually takes 0.5 to 1.0 grams. Vaping is incredibly efficient. That 0.1 to 0. Gram bowl is more than enough to provide a robust full session with 5 to 15 long draws. And what type of heat is best for it? Is it conduction or convection? Convection is better for dry herb vape. However, best is slightly compromised depending on how and where you use the device. What about with a ball vape? and flower. How would you do that? With ball vape, I don't think you could do a curve on it. It cools down, especially a wireless one. It cools down when you, as soon as you take it off the heater and put it onto your water pipe. Okay, it says it does a naturally reverse built-in reverse curve. You control it through the draw speed. The natural cooling reverse. When you pull your wireless housing off the heater base and drop it onto your injector diffuser bowl, it's at its absolute hottest. As you inhale, the incoming room temperature air strips heat away from the ruby or sapphire balls inside. With this cooling drop, your session naturally moves from high heat to lower during the draw to get the highest THC extraction and the best flavor under these conditions. You have to manipulate how you pull. How to do this step by step. Overcompensate on the base temperature because you lose heat the instant you housing leaves the coil. You must set your PID controller higher than you would on a wired vape. If you want a true 390 or 410 extraction inside the flower bowl, your base station PID would usually need to be set anywhere from 550 to 650, depending on your specific mass and ball type. So I said that wireless one hit wonder I've been using a couple times. People are saying, oh, 550, 600. No. 550, 575 is not high enough. It needs to be 600, a little bit more. Here it says 550 to 650. Step 2, the heat soak. If you want instant massive cloud, THC right out of the gate, place a hot wireless head onto your glass bowl and let it sit there for 3 to 5 seconds before you start inhaling. This is raw radiant heat to pre-warm the glass and the top layer of the flower, jumpstarting the vaporization. Skip this step if you want lighter, purely terpene-focused first flavor note. Just like I've been saying about it. Start with a slow draw, max potency, and heat. Begin your inhale with a slow, steady, controlled breath because the balls are at peak temperature. Slow breath allows you air to speed over time in the hot housing is super. Maximizing THC. Speed up your draw, clearing and cooling. As you reach the middle and end of your lung capacity, clear the chamber by pulling faster. The faster airflow rushes past the balls, quickly absorb the maximum heat. This cooler air stealthily rushes out of the remaining lighter flavor, richer terpenes without scorching or combusting the pre-baked flour at the bottom. .15 to 0.25 grams. The pack, never tamp it. The ball vapes are purely convection mustards. The flour needs to be completely loose and fluffy so the superheated air can blast through the entire column. Okay? So I've been tapping mine down a little bit. A lot. Everything you said about the temperatures and everything with the vape pen and the ball vape. Can you summarize that in a PDF for me? There's no link to download it. You said I can download it and save the generated PDF here, but there's no link. I still don't know where to download it at. I'm copying this. I will post it, not this video, but I'll post it next video too. There's a lot. It gave me everything. Okay, then what about smoking wax in an e-rig? What about the temperatures for that?
Smoking wax in a regular e-cigarette is not recommended. Standard tanks and
Okay, no. What about smoking medical marijuana in an e-rig? What about the best temperatures for that, for THC and the terpenes to get the best of both? Should that curve also?
Smoking marijuana in your ear for an earache isn't medically recommended. It can irritate your airways and worsen congestion. Instead, a dry herb vaporizer is a safer option for managing pain or inflammation. For medical advice or a diagnosis, consult a professional.
Oh my God, I thought I said earache. I just typed in earache. Okay, I'm emailing all this stuff to myself so I'll have it. Then I'll get on the computer and put it in here or something. I'm gonna have to decipher because it's a lot of words with everything I said in it, each one. It's not formatted too well. What about THCA? What are the best temperatures to smoke that? The same thing that you just told me about flower and the flower.
THCA flower behaves similarly to regular cannabis when heated. To use it, the ideal temperature range for dry herb vaporizers is between 350 degrees Fahrenheit and 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 176 degrees Celsius to 204 degrees Celsius.
The low temperature best for flavor. This is what I always said about the vape cartridges. It says if you're using a 510 battery, the THCA extracts, aim for lower voltage settings between 2.5 volts and 3.0 volts to prevent burning and preserve the flavor. So THCA temperatures is the same thing as regular medical marijuana temperatures, correct? And the effects of THCA when it's smoked and with a ball vape or a vape cartridge will be the same as smoking medical marijuana or medical a cartridge with from a medical marijuana dispensary, correct? Yes. So it'll be identical. However, depending on whether you're using a ball vape with raw flower or using a vape cartridge with delivery method, ball vape is widely considered the gold standard. because you're vaping raw interacting bud to get the entourage effect that THC converts instantly when the plant's natural terpenes and minor cannabinoids like CBD are preserved perfectly using vape cartridge. While the active high is the same, vape cartridges require a closer look at the ingredients. Dispensary medical carts, these usually contain pure, pre-activated delta 9 THC distillate or live rosin extracted from marijuana plants. Commercial THCA carts, because the pure THC is crystalline powder, the natural. The verdict: the high quality THCA cart that uses premium live resin or pure distillate will hit the same intensity and cleanness as medical. However, if THC cart is heavily diluted with weaker cannabinoids like delta 8, they may feel slightly gentler or different. So if I want to try something from a regular smoke shop instead of a dispensary, I should probably avoid the carts and just stay with flower, since the carts can really be like nothing. Exactly. Says many vape cartridges labeled THCA standard smoke shops can be very disappointing. Okay, then what did I see earlier where it said THC 45%? How can that be? And terpenes like 4% on flower. Okay, so 30 to 35% is the highest THCA, but what about for medical marijuana? What's the THC? What's the highest THC and THCA for that? The medical marijuana, the absolute highest realistic THCA percentage is roughly 34 to 37%, which mathematically translates into a maximum THC of about 30 to 32%. Because THC loses weight when it heats up and drops. Godfather OG, permanent marker, or jealousy. Okay, and what about for the one what's being sold in a smoke shop? What's the highest THC and THCA for that? I mean, the highest THC for that. $34 to 37%. So if I see a smoke shop advertising non-medical marijuana with THC of 40-some%, they're lying or somebody's lying, and you don't know what you're getting. This is what I said to AI. If it's regular uninfused flower, they're lying. Natural cannabis buds cannot physically hit 40% or higher THC. What about THCA? How high can they reach on THCA? A raw natural flower, the absolute highest THCA percentage can reach is 34 to 37%. As we discussed with the math, when that 35% THC is heated, it drops down to about 30% total activated delta 9. Okay, sometimes they infuse the flower by sprinkling with THCA. So if I would buy something from a smoke shop that's been infused, it could have a THC of 45%. When you buy infusion, you're no longer doing natural untouched cannabis bud. Instead, you're looking at a product that's been mechanically or chemically altered by adding powder or ordinary flour. While 45% potency numbers on the jar is mathematically real, the smoke experience is very different from natural. Top shelf medical marijuana harshness, burning or vaping, added chemical powders or liquid dose create a much hotter, harsher smoke. You prefer a smooth session that minimizes coughing. Heavily infused products can be a bit overwhelming. Do you get a lot higher than that? And what about doing it with a ball vape? Wouldn't that help the harshness? or what are the good names of some good infused products in Florida flower? Fused metal rot, sunburn cannabis, sanctuary cannabis, diamond infused flower, uh, how come they don't sell infused flower at the dispensary then? Because of strict state regulations and all. But you said Truly sells infused flower. They must sell it to regular smoke shops. Okay. So the smoke shops here in Florida, they can infuse it. That's how they get higher THC counts. Um, for flower, they like dusted, I guess, or maybe chemical. I don't know. I know that dusting was one of the things they said. So they can get higher THC. Then there's certain temperatures you should smoke everything at. And you should do a curve or manually raise the temperature. So maybe I'm going to try some smoke shop stuff. So sorry about that. Now you see my research. So when I go into the dispensary, medical dispensary for flower in Florida, I should not only look at the THC and terps, which I always do, and try to get the highest of both. I should also look at the THCA and consider that. And if one has more than the other one with the same THC or terps, then that's the one I want to get, the one with the highest THCA. Which is the most important number between them and the medical marijuana?
When selecting flower at a Florida medical dispensary, THCA is actually the most important number to consider. THCA is the precursor to THC, and it converts into THC when heated. So choose the one with the highest THCA, even if the THC levels are the same. For legal advice, consult a professional.
What about if one has a THC level of 20 and a THC of 15, and another one has, what if one has a THC level of 20 and a THC level? What if one has a THCA level that is 20 and another one has just a THC level that's 15 with a THC level of 5, and the one that has a THC level of 20 has a THC level of 2? That wasn't realistic. Okay, what about two flowers? If one has a THC level of 30 and a THC level of 20, and another one has a THC level of 25 and a THC level of 15, and another one has a THCA level of 40 and a THC level of 10. Which one's going to be strongest overall to give me the best entourage effect?
The strength of the experience and the entourage effect depend on the synergy between THC, other cannabinoids, and the plant's terpene profile, not just the THC levels. So it's not possible to say which flower will be the strongest based on THC numbers alone. For medical advice or a diagnosis, consult a professional.
I don't know. I'm getting confused now about the THCA. So look for the highest THCA. So after looking at the THCA numbers, what number should I look at next? The terpenes?
After checking the THCA percentage, the terpene profile is next. Terpenes determine the strain's actual effects, flavor, and aroma, while THCA indicates potential potency.
And what about the THCA? Just a regular THC. And what about the regular THC? Does that matter much or not really? Look for the highest THCA and the highest terps on the medical marijuana certificate. No, the regular THC number does not matter much. The flower label. So basically, when I go into a medical marijuana dispensary, I should treat it just like a regular smoke shop. Look for the highest THCA and the highest terps. Okay, not quite. When looking at THCA and terpenes is the correct data driven strategy for both. You should not treat the medical dispensary like a regular smoke shop. The product's regulation and quality safety net between them two elements or environments are completely different. Okay, strain with 20% THCA and 3.5 terpene will almost always give you better symptom relief and cleaner experience than a strain with 35% THCL and only 1% terps. So I want one with 35% THCA and 4% terps. That should have a pretty good effect. So a strain with 20% THC and 3% terpenes will give me a better effect than a strain with 20% THC and so a strain with 20% THC and 3% terps will give me a better high and entourage effect than a strain with 32% THC and 2% terps. Yes, the vast majority of cases, the 20% THC strain with 3% terpenes will give you a significant better, richer, and more complete high than 30% strain with only 2% terpenes. Okay, so at a medical store, you said it goes by THC, but I should still look at the THCA also, correct?
Yes, you should definitely check the THCA percentage. THCA is what turns into THC when heated. For medical advice or a diagnosis, consult a professional.
So at a medical marijuana dispensary, it'll have THC, THCA, and the terpenes, total terpenes. but the flower at a regular smoke shop does not show you the THC or does not have THC in, so it just shows you the THCA. And that THCA, if it says 40 on the smoke shop flower and my medical dispensary on the THCA says 30, and both the terpenes and THC are the same, then the smoke shop marijuana would be better, correct? Even though my medical dispensary one has a THC count of 20. Well, the smoke shop one would be infused at those numbers, remember? Okay, however, even knowing it is infused, the medical dispensary flower is still highly likely to give you the better, stronger, and more reliable experience. Here is why the math and product, the true math, your medical flowers are actually stronger. Medical label, 20% active THC plus 30% THCA. The math, 20% plus 30% 0.0 equals 48. The winner. Is that possible to see THCA of 30% in medical marijuana where it shows me a THC of 20%? No. You're still going to only get 35% higher unless it's infused. So they infuse the smoke shop flower when they get higher THCA. They infuse that with terpenes. So that should give you a really good high then, correct? Better than the dispensary one, an infused flower. Okay, so it lacks stuff that naturally grown flower has. Sprayed terpenes do not work the same way. Okay, and what about the terpenes that they add to distillate vapes to make a cartridge in a medical marijuana thing? Are those terpenes different also? Yes. The terpenes added to medical distillate vapes can be very different depending on which cartridge you buy. And making pure THC distillate with all natural flavors and smells. medical extractors add terpenes back into the oil afterwards. Medical dispensaries use two different categories. Botanical derivative terpenes or cannabis derivative terpenes. Those are the two terpenes. The cannabis, the one's more expensive. So when I get flower at a medical marijuana dispensary, what numbers are the better numbers I should be looking for? Like a 20% THC and 4% terps. So I want higher terps. And what's the minimum THC I should aim for with the higher terps compared to a higher THC? If you prioritize a high terpene profile, the gold sweet spot is look for 18 to 22% THC paired with 2.5 to 4% total terps. Profile like 20% THC and 4% terpenes, an absolute powerhouse. Okay, and what if it was 30% THC and 4% terpenes? Would that be better than the 20% THC and 4% terpenes? Yes. So at the medical marijuana dispensary, I want to look for the highest terpenes first, and then look for the highest THC without really lowering the terpenes too much. So doing that, will that give me a more higher effect or a more psychedelic effect? It'll give you a much higher, longer lasting, and more intense physical and mental effect. While some high potency combined, then how do I get more of that psychedelic effect? What can I do to get that? You need to change what specific strains you buy and how you consume them. While cannabis will not create a full visual hallucination like true psychedelic, it can drastically amplify psychedelic-like effects, such as intense audio sensitivity, time dilation, deep interperspective thinking, hunt for the terpene. Like mine, the absolute king of trippy cannabis experience is a rare terpene called terpene. What it does, unlike civilian terpene provides high energetic, dizzying and deeply cerebral head high when paired with high THC. Switch to a live resin, or live rosin. Would that terpene oleine be listed in the COA at my medical marijuana store? Oh boy, they're really going to hate me now. Yes, what you referred to, terpene oleine, TERPINOLENE. It will be listed on the COA. You don't always have to pull it up on the full PDF just to find it, because terpene is an incredible distinct smell. You can, by looking at the flavor description, the scent profile: pine, fresh herbs, citrus, and distinct chemicals. So any amount of that terpenoline, or should I look for higher amounts if 2 or 3 have it? You want that to be the number one terpene on the label. The rule for finding the perfect trippy COA. When you are looking at the certificate at your Florida dispensary, use this exact checklist to ensure to make sure your batch will give you the immense head high you want. It must be the dominant terpene, the golden three-way. The absolute best, most cerebral, and vividly immersive high happens when it acts as an anchor. It's immediately followed by these 2 secondary terpenes, limonene and piney. What you want to avoid: the migraine trap. If terpene is listed further down, like 3 or 4 terpene, and a sedating terpene like it's MYRCENE is the number one dominant oil, the trip effect will be completely wiped out. Myosin acts like a heavily chemical brake pad, even if there's a decent amount of terpene in the mix. Summary checklist for shopping. Don't buy it if terpene is. All right, there you've seen it. I got screenshots, and I got the PDF of the temperatures. For a vape cartridge, use the lowest temp, 2.5 to 3.0 volts on the voltage, so you don't burn it. I always look for the highest THC and the highest terps. But now I'm going to dig into the terps some, because I want that entourage effect. Now I know what to look for. A lot of people don't even look at the THC or terps. They just walk in and give me this, give me that. They go by the name or just the price. I want to know what the hell I'm buying. So the shops are really gonna love me when I go in there and look at the COA, because I'll spend an hour, 2 hours in there looking at the COA of it if I have to. And now I got to look at what terps are in. That terpene I want first. And make sure that myosin or whatever is not in there, especially in the top 2 or 3, because that'll take over and ruin the terpene. All right. And I gotta pause you. What the hell? This is an hour and 17 minutes. Fuck it. I'm gonna let you go. Y'all have a good one. And remember, 3 bowls a day keeps the doctor away.